Good evening and welcome, Realty Pros. This is our late summer fall segment of our new agent training. Tonight, we're diving into Brokermint and Constant Contact. So thank you guys for carving out the time to join us. We're going to take a deep dive and answer all of your questions and make sure that you are very familiar with those platforms, because Brokermint and Constant Contact are very big parts of your Porterhouse platform. As you guys know, everything that we do is electronic, so you don't have to worry about bringing any paper into the office. And this system is why, this Brokermint system. So we are going to dive into it, and we will start with creating a transaction. Throughout this training, I'm going to be asking questions because I'm sure that you guys have had the opportunity to go to one or both of these systems. I don't expect you to be an expert just yet, except I know we do have Curtis on the line. I know we have Kermon on the line who's seen this information before. So Curtis, I am going to be looking forward to you joining us in this discussion. And if there's anything that I don't think about going through, by all means ask, or be happy to just insert that information. We want to make sure that everybody gets a wealth of information for these various platforms and you walk away with everything you need, okay? So first, before I begin with Brokermint, let me ask, who has created transactions and gotten through a transaction in Brokermint just yet? Well, first, let me say, who's created a transaction thus far? Go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand and let me know if you've created transactions thus far in Brokermint.
I have.
And I have as well.
All right.
I've created one, but haven't completed one.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go from the beginning, because I want to make sure that we fill in any holes that you have, because there's so many different nuances to this system. It can do so much. I want to make sure that you guys get everything that you need. Okay. So the very first step in creating a transaction, you see that right here. All right, so for those who actually created a transaction, what do I need to do first?
Would you just go right to where it says transactions?
Create the transaction. There it is. Click on that button. All right, so that one was a freebie. I wanted to make sure that everybody was paying attention there. So it is as simple as that. Like Joy said, you're going to go straight to the button that says create transaction.
Hey,
Now,
Jasmine, I'm not seeing your screen anymore.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not all that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, that's why. Yeah. There you go.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me go back a step, because this is where we were. If anything happens like that, just let me know so that I can make sure that we are all on the same page. So this is where we are in Brokermint. On the left, you see pipeline, transactions, contacts, library, calendar, and so forth and so on. So if you are new to Brokermint, then you're simply going to go to create transactions. All of you will see or have seen this video that's on the side. This video walks you through everything that you need to know, but no worries, because we're doing it live this evening. So this is where we were to create a transaction, and that's because we're in the training account, and this training account doesn't have any other transactions in it. Otherwise, I would just be able to go to one of them and hit create transaction on the right-hand side of the page. Okay, so now we're at the place where we see new transaction. And that being said, this is very important for us to add information for our transaction, but there's something else that pulls from the information that we include in this transaction field. Can anybody tell me what's going to pull from the information that we put here?
The information that's potentially needed for your different agreements that need to be signed.
That's exactly it. So as you can see, it's going to have several sections highlighted. So you see address, city, state, zip code, so forth and so on, the purchase price. Those things are very important, but they are not the only items of importance, okay? So as it pertains to your listing agreement, your purchase agreement, and just like Joy said, all of your other agreements, you want to be sure to add as much information as possible because this is where your documents are going to auto-populate from, okay? So this, of course, is just going to be a dummy address for now. This is going to be the purchase price. But now let's go a little bit further, right? If we want to add the acceptance date, listing date, expiration date, and closing date, those items are of importance as well. In Brokermint, you're going to have two different type of transactions that you'll be working on, but all of them are going to say listing. That's both the buying side and the listing side. If it's the purchase side, you're going to choose the status pending. If it's the listing side, you're going to choose the status listing until you get under ratified contract, then it all goes to pending, okay? Can anybody tell me why these dates here that it's asking for are important to your transaction?
Because it sets the timeline on when certain documents or tasks need to be completed.
That is exactly why. So as we move a little bit further down the list, you guys are going to see where we're going to add the checklists, and your checklists are going to be dated. So each action item in there is going to have a timeline. And just like Curtis said, based on the acceptance date, the closing date, it's going to order your items in there based on your input. Okay. So let's just say for the sake of our training today, our acceptance day is today. And let's say for the sake of our training, our closing date is the 30th of September, right? That's what we're going to say we have. You guys choose. Do you want this to be a purchase or do you want this to be a listing?
Listing.
This is a listing, but we will say our listing date was August. Let's just say we listed it. We got it under contract today. So that being said, additional fields, you can select your property type. You can select all of this information. Not all of it is pertinent to your contract. Some of it is, however. If you pull your legal description, you can pull that from your tax record and add it there. That's something that's good to have. Not crucial, but at least it'll help to auto-populate your documents, okay? Go to next. The very next thing that you're going to do now that you've created that and added the property address is you're going to add the agents and the commission, okay? This is a listing. So Porterhouse is going to be on the listing side. And if you are working the transaction by yourself, then if you're on the listing side, you may have 3.5% of that. However, so we have 3.5%, the total 6%. And the buying side, you'd likely be sharing that 2.5%, okay? Now you want to add the agents to your transaction. Let's just say by chance, if we have Kristen and Joy, you guys are working together. We're going to add an agent, agent name. We're going to save it. If Joy was working that transaction by herself, then she gets 100% of that commission. And that is not the brokerage specific commission. That is the commission that's in her listing agreement, okay? If you're working with another agent, then you would add another agent to it. Okay, and you're going to say, who am I working with? I want you to pull up Kristen. Let's see how to do this. Type your name in. There you are. Okay, so now that I've done this, I can determine what that split is. If they're working this and they are, you know, they're partnering on this transaction, maybe they're working on a 50-50 split, maybe they're doing a 25-75. It's based on whatever their agreement is, okay? So let's just look at it from that perspective. I've added my listing commission, I've added the agents. Very important, okay? So next, and now I'm going to add the contacts to the transaction. This is a listing, so I'm going to need to designate who the listing agent is. I'm going to need to designate getting late, make sure I don't miss anything here. Who the seller is, transaction coordinator. Okay, so you can do each of these actually. So once you get under a ratified contract, your escrow officer, loan officer, and so forth and so on, right? So your listing agent, Kristen, your seller, Armand's going to be our seller for today. Joy, you're going to be our transaction coordinator. Escrow officer. Just going to choose velocity title. We already have them in there. Loan officer, we're just going to choose that for the sake of our training, okay? So we're going to go ahead and create this transaction. And because your guys' information is already stored in the computer, I didn't have to type anything in there. However, for your clients, you're going to need to actually add their information in there. So as you can see, here is your property. Here's the information that we've input thus far. That's what the gross commission is. Now, the next and most important thing for us to do, you verified all the contacts are there. You can see the email addresses. Very important to make sure that you have the full contact name and the email address because you'll need to capture signatures and send documents to people upon completion. Can anybody tell me what the next most important thing to do is once you've created this transaction?
Add the checklist.
It sure is. All right. Now, because we're on the listing side, I want you guys to pay attention where it says template. Admin's at the top only because it's in alphabetical order. Hit that drop down arrow and go to the checklist that's specific to your transaction type. Okay. This is a listing and it's in Maryland. So you're just going to choose that Maryland listing. It's going to reconfirm those dates. And you simply click add. And there is your checklist. Okay. And just like Curtis said earlier, everything is on a timeline and it's based on those dates that you put in there. Okay. So once you've added your checklist, there are going to be some items that'll be at the top that'll be in red. You want to check those off as you complete them. Client information. Have you already added your client's information? If so, let's go ahead and check that box because it's completed, right? Now, assuming that we've got a ratified contract, we would have already gone through this step, but let's, for the sake of training, open this so you see what's enclosed in each one of these document sections for you. So your complete listing prep here, and let's just click this button that says use forms. Okay, what is this? Glad you asked. Click on that pre-listing prep, go to next. Any signers, who do I want to sign it? Kermon is my seller. Add another signer. Let's see, Kristen is my listing agent. And we're going to move on from here because I have added those signers. Anytime you have a contract, you have people that are supposed to sign, you verify that information here. In the event that you get to a screen that has people you do not need, you simply use the X. Okay. If there are multiple sellers, you simply type in the other person's information and it will allow you to add them as a signer. Now, what is this pre-listing prep? Okay, I've opened up my documents and now this is something that I'm going to capture from the seller before I ever complete the listing documents. I'm gathering background information. This first piece is customer service. This is relationship building. We're greeting them. We're providing them with information to say, hey, thank you for allowing me to be of service to you. I value and honor your business. You're saying to your seller, you are the most important person in this process for me. And what can we do to make this transaction a perfect 10 for you, right? Our motto is because you deserve the best. So our every endeavor in our transactions is to make sure that we provide the absolute best experience for each one of our Porterhouse clients. So some information can be boilerplate, but some you want to personally tailor to each one of your clients. And that's going to be in questions such as these. So you want to ask these this very short list of questions, but it can really make or break your deal if you don't find this information out in advance. Just very briefly, you may have somebody that you may be really big on email. And for them, they may not look at their email. They may be overwhelmed with email. They may prefer a phone call, or they may prefer a text message or something like that. It's going to be very important for you to know right offhand what these specifications are that they prefer so that you can manage the experience that they're having. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right. The next is going to be your listing intake form. With this listing intake form, you're going to gather this upfront information about the property, your seller, and all the other liens and everything associated with the property so that you can do your research, you can do your listing documents, you can do your comparative market analysis, and you can be sure that you've gotten the accurate information from your seller. Because although some of this information is available in the public records, we do not rely on the public records because most often it's incomplete and there are some very many inconsistencies and inaccuracies. So you verify this information with your seller, no matter where you get, no matter which system you use as a resource, you verify this information with your seller, okay? Find out all of this information. So don't skip through anything. If it's not applicable, simply put not applicable. But that's what this information is. This is your pre-listing. So you're getting this information from your seller in advance. And as you can see, the information that we typed into the details section, it has already auto-populated that information in, okay? So it's already filling some of that information in for you, has your seller's information, the property address, the agent's information, the listing date, and anything else that you fill in there, it's going to do the same thing with it, okay? That being said, you want to scrub through when you get to your actual contract documents because some of them are going to auto-populate and some of them may not, can't quite determine why it's not 100%, but nothing is. So just scrub through them and make sure it has everything that you need, okay? Now, if we were to save and close this, we'd be finished with this. Just so that you know, there's a drop-down arrow on the right in the event you need to send it for a signature, but there is nothing here to be e-signed. So we're going to go ahead and click on save and close. Now, as it pertains to the gathering of information that we needed for our listing documents, we've completed that task. Now we're moving on. We're moving on to the signed listing agreement. We're uploading the signed listing agreement. And everywhere you see this button that says use forms, it's because there's some type of template that's already built into there for you. So we've done your boilerplate template, and depending on your property, so whether there are additional easements, encumbrances, jurisdictional documents, you'll need to add documents to this sometimes, but this is your overall boilerplate, okay, for your listing document. So you click on where it says use forms and it's going to open up your template. You simply go to the right, membership confirmation. Okay, you know what? This one is not going to let me do it because this is my NERDS ID, but it's in my Jasmine at Porterhouse Realty Pros Brokermint account, and I'm in the trainer account. So for today, I won't go into the actual documents, but you will be able to, because as soon as you've put your NERDS ID in there, it's going to already connect it with your board account. Okay, so as you can see, you cannot have more than one account with the same NERDS ID. It won't allow you to. All right. But that being said, where you see use forms, you have several options here. You have your, as we said, your template, but then you can always add more forms. You come here, if you need to add more forms, you click on one, you click and go back to that first page to add more forms, and it'll give you options. If you want to add forms from the Maryland Realtors Library, you're going to click right there where it says Maryland Realtors. Or if you want to add forms from the company library, you click on the left where it says company library. You go to the folder from which you want to add forms. If it's for PG County, there's specific addenda that we've put there for your convenience. This is not the full list of addenda, but these are the ones that are most frequently used. So we've added them for your convenience, okay? If you get to the point where you need to add any additional addenda, you simply jump right onto Maryland Realtors or to your zip form accounts. All of those are directly connected with your board. All of them are connected with your board membership. So you already have these various accounts, okay? So let's just say by chance I needed to add an additional document. I just go to here's mdrealtor.org. Everybody can write that down if you haven't already. Save it in your phone, save it on your laptop, bookmark it, and put your NERDS ID in there, your password, your username, so you can always go there. I would go to legal, I'd go to forms. And I choose whether I want statewide or local board forms. And because you're members of Maryland Realtors, you have access to all local board forms in the state of Maryland, okay? So for every one of the counties, you have that access. You should simply scroll down to the folders, open it up, and choose the appropriate documents for you to add, okay? All right, in the event that you needed to go to your zip form accounts, you do the same thing, all right? We are not doing an overview of zip forms or Maryland Realtor site today. I just wanted to show you guys some other resources for gathering your documents, just as a refresher for some of us, and then others, it may be the first time you're seeing it, okay? But that being said, this is where you're gonna get your documents from. So I'm gonna cancel what I just did. I'm back to Brokermint where my forms and my documents are. I'm gonna go to next. Okay, not gonna do that for now. Right? So that was your initial segment of your listing agreement. What you're gonna see here is you'll see multiple tabs and they have different components of all of your documents that are necessary. Let's see, your property disclosures are gonna be here. And we have separated those for you guys. Can anybody tell me why we would have these disclosures separate from your confidential listing agreement? Anybody want to take a guess?
The confidential listing agreement has how we're getting paid.
That's definitely one really good point. Yes,
They don't
that's
need-
one of them.
They don't need to know how much money. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Don't
one of them.
we-
Anything else?
Don't we upload those documents on Bright for the listing too?
That is the other one, absolutely. So you need all of the documents, but to make it easy for you guys, we've put them in 2 back-to-back locations because one, the first one, like Curtis said, you go into these forms and these are things you don't want to share. So your exclusive rights to sell has how much you're getting paid and that's nobody's business, but yours, the brokerages and your sellers. Financial condition of the property, you don't reveal your seller's financial condition to anybody, right? That's confidential. And then the lockbox addendum is not confidential, but it doesn't need to be a part of your listing disclosures. Whereas where you have your second set of disclosures there, Kristen hit the nail on the head. These are situated and arranged for you guys to make it convenient for you to have one file to download so as to upload into Bright MLS. It starts with your offer instructions, has your inclusions, and all the other boilerplate documents that you're going to need. Now, most recently, I've added the DNA document, the PG County disclosure and notice to this. Although this is not for all of Maryland, it's only for Prince George's County, but a lot of people were requesting that. So I just put it into that template for you. So everything that's here is what you're going to have your sellers to sign as well. And you'll be able to just download that file and upload it right into Bright MLS in your disclosure section. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. So that is your checklist. And as you continue down this checklist, it's going to tell you everything you need to do. It's going to tell you when you need to order your photography. It's going to keep you on task. Now, if you've used this before, then that means that you should have gotten the emails. If you have your notification set to receive emails every time there's a task due. Has anybody been receiving emails from Brokermint for a transaction that you may be either in the midst of or have done in the past? Let me know if you've received emails.
Yes.
Yes.
And how did you feel about receiving reminders about items that were needed?
I'm not gonna tell you exactly how I felt, but
You can tell us how you feel. It's okay.
Well, you start realizing what you haven't done and what you have to do, and it starts coming because stuff sometimes can get away from you. So at first I felt a little, overwhelmed, crazy, dumb, whatever you want to call it. But it's excellent because it gets you back on track of where you need to be. So the good news is, the bad news is you can get off track, but the good news is it can get you back on track. So
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that you're not the only one to share that sentiment. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
Well, it's sort of like a game for me. It's like I try to get to it before it sends me the email. So it actually kind of keeps you ahead of task if you're looking at it from that perspective, where you don't want the email, is you staying on top of it.
That's an excellent perspective too. Thank you for sharing that, Darlene. Anybody else? I think that both of them have summed it up masterfully, because that's exactly what this is intended to do. It's intended to be an assistant, so to speak, so as to guide you through your transactions, to remind you of outstanding items, to keep you ahead of it so you know what's coming up and what you need to be looking forward to. And in the event that you were to get overwhelmed with looking at something else and miss a couple of action items, it will remind you. And the great thing about it is that it gives you the opportunity to not have to guess or wonder whether or not you're completing everything that's necessary to get through your transaction successfully. Not only that, it puts everything into one neat portal so that you can submit it directly to the office. And you can go back to it every time you need to in the event that you need to pull some transaction information, okay? And then lastly, one of the most important features, or in addition to what we talked about, another very important feature for you guys. Okay, I'll see if anybody can guess this, and I might be giving you a hint because of my cursor. What's necessary in this system in order for you guys to receive your commission checks?
You have to upload the final sign also at settlement.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So to finalize your transaction, you're done once your buyer and your seller have closed, you have a fully signed alter, you've uploaded into the system. By that time, you should have already submitted a copy of your listing agreement. That's to be submitted for review. You would have submitted a copy of the fully ratified contract. And then the next thing you're going to submit is your fully signed alter. Okay. Those items are the only ones that are required to be reviewed and approved. Now, you will have additional addenda and documents, and those are great. You can submit those as well. But those are the items that we need to make sure that we have everything necessary so that we're compliant and we can close out your transaction. All right. Excellent. So that is what your checklist looks like, and that's how you utilize that. Does anybody have any questions with regards to that?
I do have a question.
All
Okay,
right.
I have.
I see two people. I see Darlene and I see Joy.
Joy can go first.
Go ahead, Joy.
Okay, my question is, when you first set up the transaction and you have to put in the dates that you put in from the beginning, how do you know what your closing date is going to be right when, like, say I have a seller now, and I need them to, complete their listing agreement and that type of thing. I don't know what my closing date and stuff is going to be with, right then and there. So how do I complete that component of it?
That is
When I'm just at the initial stages of just getting the listing agreement signed.
That is an excellent question, and thank you for asking that, Joy. So you see right here in edit, well, first, let me answer your question specifically. In the very beginning, you will not know what your closing date is going to be, okay? You'll have a listing date You'll have an expiration date, but you will not know what the closing date is. However, for the sake of keeping your checklist in order, so as to keep you on target, you can simply add a closing date of 30 to 45 days out so that things are situated so that they make sense to you, right? And
Okay,
if you see how I did, once you actually get under contract, you simply go to your transaction and you click on edit. And then you're going to add the correct closing date and you're going to add the correct acceptance date. But you'll have one in there 30 to 45 days out so that your checklist is in order and keeps you on target.
okay, makes sense. Because
That was an
that was
excellent
what,
question.
okay, thank you.
You got it. Anybody else?
My question was, or is, so, okay, I'm working with a referral client. So I do have a folder for him in Brokermint with his name.
Mhm.
So would I tie the property that he's getting in Virginia to his name here, or do I just tie the alta that I receive when they send it?
That is another excellent question. And I'm going to answer that by walking through that process. Okay. So we just went through a transaction for a listing side, right? Now we know you have both buyers and sellers as clients. So when you're working with a buyer, let's go to create transaction. So instead of using an actual property address, if I'm working with a buyer, I'm going to put, let's say this is my buyer. Okay, where's that client look? Either you can put the city that they're looking in, or you can simply put the office, city, state, and zip code. Okay, either it's yours to choose. What's their purchase price? What's on their pre-approval? Let's say that buyer is approved for $850. Okay, now just like we talked about with Joy's last question, this is going to be your information so as to begin the transaction. And once you've completed it, now you can actually go back and edit it to put the property specific information. But you'll need to be able to do this so that you can have all your documents, you have access to it, and you'll be able to go in and send them offers and you'll utilize the system the way it's supposed to be. So when you're buying side, you do the same thing. Your buying side is here. Add the agent. Let's see who's our agent? Who do we have? Who did I use the last time? I used Joy, Kermon. Let's see, we have Gary that joined us. Welcome, Gary. All right, so we're going to use Gary's name. Gary is going to be our agent. We simply click on save. We're going to say he's on the buying side and he has 3% there of his transaction. We're going to go to next, add contact there, that buyer. We say for the sake of training, the buyer is JasmyenPorter. Okay, same thing that we did the last time, except in checklists, we click that drop down arrow next to admin, and now we're going to add that buying checklist. Okay, we're going to choose a closing date. Let's see, today is the 26th. Let's just say we choose a closing date of the 30th. Give ourselves a little time, right? That buying agent. Okay, Briscoe. Add that here. Now you have everything from the buying side. So it's the exact same, but mirrored. Okay. So once we actually get a ratified contract on that buying side, we simply go to edit and we update it so that we have the buyer's actual property address there as the address. Same thing for the purchase price. And you're going to do that before you complete those offer documents, right? You're going to do that so that your offer documents populate from the information that you've put there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, so I have another question for you.
Mhm.
Before you clicked on this particular screen, that
Mhm.
little screen before where the status is for the buy side, that has to
Mhm.
be changed too, right? It has to be changed to pending.
Yes,
Did I write that down right?
you wrote that down correctly. Yes.
Okay. And
So
then the
right,
listing and for seller side, if it's a seller side, if we are representing, if it's a listing transaction, it switches to listing.
okay, so yes, with an explanation. So Brokermint
Okay.
only gives you the option to create listings. So it's totally fine. Both your purchases and your listings are gonna say listing. Once you actually get under a ratified contract, that's when you're gonna switch it to pending, such as right now. So I'm gonna switch it to pending, and that's gonna signify that I'm working with the buyer and I've gotten a ratified contract. Okay, so it's gonna say
Okay.
listing for both of them. Ratified contracts mean pending. Okay, and what's
Okay.
gonna let us know whether or not it is a listing or whether or not it's a buyer that you're working with, because you're gonna have your buyer's name as the property address for your buying side transaction until you get under ratified contract. And once you start working on a specific contract, that's when that's gonna change. Does that make sense?
Okay,
Yep, that makes sense.
So Ms. Porter, you're saying you do not change it until after you get the ratified contract and you're working on the ratified contract?
That is exactly right. So pending simply means you're under contract and you're on your way to settlement. So once you get a ratified contract, that's when you're going to update that status. And the good thing is it only gives you two options. So it's not complicated there. You simply switch it either to listing or to pending. And if I wanted to switch it back to listing, let's say by chance it was 36 offers and the buyers not accepted their backup offer, then it's not pending just yet. You can switch it back. Okay, but once they're under ratified, that's when you switch to pending. All right, now let's see what that has done and how that's affected my pipeline. Okay, so now I have two transactions there. One is a buying side transaction and the other is a listing side transaction. So now let me go to my pipeline and see what that looks like. Now in my pipeline, I have one pending transaction and one listing transaction. Okay, now if I put my commission there appropriately, it's going to tell me the commission that I can earn if I close both of my transactions successfully, but it's going to show me my year at a glance. So you'll see your funnels. When you put those buyers in there, you put your listings in there, you can take a look at your business at a glance and say, okay, my, August is looking pretty good. September looks great. I need to work on October. December is very strong. So it'll help you to manage your business just by paying attention to your pipelines and paying attention to your reports and everything that this system provides to you. But we will not go deeply into your reports or anything for now. Is everybody comfortable with the information that we did so far? Because I'm going to dive a little bit more deeply into this buying side.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes. And Ms. Porter, I have a quick question. If you might be getting ready to address it, so I just wanted to bring it up in the event that you might not. If I'm working, and this might be similar to what the young lady just asked about, but I'm not sure. If I'm working with a referral and I have to add, say, a referral fee to another agent that's outside of Porterhouse. I know we kind of discussed the drop down of percentages for, I think, people that are working together within the brokerage. But if you're working with somebody that gave you a referral and you owe them a 25% referral bonus outside of the brokerage that is not a part of Porterhouse, do you add the percentages the same way that you showed us when it was the two agents working together within the brokerage?
That is an excellent question. And we normally use a completely different form for the outside referrals. Mr. Porter, I know that you are handling a couple things right now, but if you are able to speak, I want you to unmute yourself and answer Joy's question.
All right. So Joy, that's a great question. So under that section, yes, you can add a person, but they won't have a any type of transaction indicator for Porterhouse. In other words, that's kind of a back end, so you don't have to worry about it. But you can add that person when it's gonna ask you to add. See if you can do it for me, Jasmine, real quick,
Okay.
if you can. Go to commissions, Jasmine. Out, yeah, go out of it. Just go down to commissions. It should be at the bottom.
It's not
Is
at
it,
the bottom.
it's not on their screen, all right. So that would be something that, okay, so if you get past this point, Joy, where Jasmine has, then that's when something you're gonna have to send an email to me and I'll have to add it because on my side, I can add other commissions.
Okay,
If in your side, what I haven't tried it from you guys' side, that's a very good question. But I think we do have the option just to add that person as a contact and then to add that company because it's really not going to go to that person. It's going to go to their real estate company and to the person.
right.
So we would need to
Yeah.
have that information. And I do believe that it gives you that option when you're first going in to split the commissions to add a different contact. I don't think they
Okay.
only, yeah.
Okay, so let's just do this for now. Okay. So we'll say this
So I
is
think
gonna
that's,
be,
yeah, I think that's what Jasmine is trying to do right now. You add all that information and their brokerage and all of that stuff and who they
Yep.
are, the email. And then you can, when you get to the commission section, you can add that person. And
Mhm.
you just need
Okay.
to delineate how much of the 3% you're splitting with that person.
I know.
Okay.
What I did was I did
Well,
that referral form that we have in Brokermint under his name.
Yeah, we'll do it the way that Mr. Porter said. I was trying to play around with it to see if it would allow us to do it from here, but this is meant for inner office working.
Mhm.
okay.
Okay, but it's very simple to do your referrals. It's right in. So I will go and answer that question really quickly in your library. So let's see which one of these, in your agent tools, there is a referral form right there. You simply click on that referral form, you fill it in for that agent, their company, you get signatures from them and myself, and we're already going to have this information so that we know when that transaction closes, who gets paid and what percentage. So this is our external referral form.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
And you
Yeah.
want to make sure you upload that form into that transaction under unsorted documents.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Mrs. Porter, this is going to show on the altar, and it's going to be done by the title company as far as them putting it in.
That is an excellent question as well, and it is not done that way. So the referrals are paid from the brokerage to the other brokerage. So on your Alta, the information that's indicated on your listing agreement is going to be present there. So your full commission will be paid to yourself in Porterhouse. So it's going to come to Porterhouse, and then because you will have uploaded this information into your Brokermint transaction, we will then cut a check or send a wire to the other broker. So that's why it's important that you upload this external referral form. You include that into your documents as well.
Okay.
So you can indicate, Joy, the other person as an agent that's working on the transaction, but the system is not going to allow us to, pull it from there in order to pay them per se, because it's made for our Porterhouse agents.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You got it. And thanks for asking that question. That was a great question. All right, so back to our buying side, our buying checklist, the same as the selling or the listing side. You see here where you see used forms, you click on those forms, and guess what you see? You're going to see those initial documents that you need in order to establish agency with your buyer, your understanding.
I'm sorry.
No
Let me
problem.
say one more thing before we go further in reference to Joy's question.
Okay.
Even though it's a referral, you want to still create a transaction for it. And sometimes with a referral, depending on if it's a different state and you're sending a buyer, you might not know the name of the house or the property address until the property closes. But once you get that information, you go back in and you change that person's name into the property address. And then you'll have to send it over for review to us and just let us know that it was a referral. And that way we'll look for all of the referral documents. so that when the check comes or the wire comes, then we know that this was your transaction and the property address and everything will be on there. So you still create a transaction even for referrals. That's my point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody else have any questions?
Not right now.
Okay. But the system, you guys are going to find out what we want you to do, Joy, and anybody else, is to create test transactions just so you can familiarize yourself with Brokermint. At the bottom, there's a little help icon. If Jasmine hasn't gone over that, that help icon has a live chat feature. It also has a section where you can click on the videos. You can also just go to YouTube and you can Google either Porterhouse's videos on training on Brokermint, or you can actually watch other trainings that Brokermint have. They have webinars as well for Brokermint. But the tool should be used as your dashboard so that you can keep track of, especially when you start having multiple transactions. You're going to want to keep track of all of your transactions. You want to know your money. You want to keep track of your funnel. And then you want to double check before we print a check. You want to double check that the commission is listed accurately. Because once we close that transaction, and we like to cut your checks the same day, any of you have had settlements, you know you're 9 times out of 10 gonna get the transaction the same. I mean, get your check the same day, or as soon as the wire hits, or whenever the funds are received, you'll get your check the same day. We print about 100% in getting all of our agents their checks the same day. We don't want you to wait on your money, but just make sure that all the information is in Brokermint and that is correct, because I can't process any checks unless we have all of the documents, including the signed alter. Jasmine, I know you're going to go over that.
I did, and thank you for reiterating that, because that's very important. Thank you for that. All right, so back to where we were with your guys' documents. I will not go through each of them, but as you can see, you simply click on the use forms and it will open up the template for you. So it's the same on the buying side as we visited on the listing side of the transactions. And in the event that you guys are going down your checklist, you say, okay, I'm going to check this off, but the property doesn't have an HOA, you simply request an exemption, or you just check it off. All right. So don't stress about it if it is something that the property is exempt from. That being said, I want to make sure that you look through each one of these action items. Every last one of them is necessary. None of them are to be skipped. So read through each. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was going to say, please make sure you put in the comments why you don't have the document or what you did. So if there's no HOA, just type no HOA.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So your appraisals and everything that's here, I want to reiterate. If you guys are, you might say, I'm busy. Okay, this looks like an extensive checklist. Well, what's essential and then what can I skip? The answer is go through everything, because it's pertinent and it's very important, because if those items are specific to the property, we don't want anything to be missing from our files. We don't want anything to be missing for you, your clients, Porterhouse. So let's just make sure we go through each one of those items. And again, if it is not applicable, you simply put a comment in that box, or if it's a document that we're requesting and it's not applicable, simply request an exemption and move on, okay? But go through each of them, all right? Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, one thing I will say, well, 2 things I'll say before we move on to constant contact. we're still trying to figure out something with regards to the acceptance date. Let's see, the acceptance date, we're going to say August the 26th. We'll save that acceptance date, and then that should rework. As you see how when I changed the acceptance date, my checklist changed, some of the items moved in a different order. So all of these are tied to your acceptance date, your closing date, your listing date, and so forth and so on. So those days are important for your actual transaction. So I'm going to choose my listing date as today, my acceptance date as today, and my closing date, I'm going to put that as September the 30th. And based on those days, that's how my listing checklist is going to be organized. Okay. So that being said, if you don't put one of the dates in there, you'll see the date shift a little bit, but don't beat yourself up. Just either edit it or go down the checklist anyway. And I recommend that you do both. So you make sure you have those items completed. One last thing, in the event that you say, okay, well, I need to add another document, it's not here, you can do one of two things. You can either go to some of the documents or one of the tabs that has a place for you to add documents, and you can go back to add more forms and you can add the documents there. Or if you say, okay, well, this is something that I've actually already submitted and I need to add an additional documents, what can I do? You can go to add action item. You see the action, add task. And if you add task, let's just say by chance, if this is not sure which addendum, we'll just put addendum for now. And that's going to be assigned to the agent for the transaction. And you simply choose that box that says require a document to be added. And when you do that, it's going to allow for you to click to use, you see on the left, I'm sorry, the right where you see use forms or either upload a document. So you can upload a document several ways. You can upload a document from your computer, you can upload a document by email, or you can drag and drop a document in there. But if you want to be able to use your library, you simply add a task from your action drop-down bar and simply click on use forms from over there. And that will allow you to add anything that's not already there. And I say that because I know that we are being very resourceful, and I commend all of you for being very resourceful. And I see that in doing so, a number of you have added additional checklists to the same transaction. So we'll go in there and it may have 2 or 3 different checklists so that you can pull documents. But I promise there's an easier way to do it. Simply add a task, okay? So that you can then add the documents to it and you can keep everything in one checklist, okay? Anybody have any other questions before we move on to constant contact?
Yeah, Ms. Porter, I have a quick question. Okay.
Sure.
On the transaction coordinator, okay, if we were to put on the transaction coordinator, either you or Mr. Porter, and we put in that you could review, wouldn't that send everything to you for review and, you know, in regards to that? Because that's what I thought it meant. If I put, let's say, Mr. Porter in there, then that means he would actually see, or everything would be sent to him. Is that correct?
So that's 2 parts. So yes, that is correct, that if you assign a transaction coordinator, it will allow for them to see all of your documents. Secondly, however, you don't need to add myself or Mr. Porter as the transaction coordinator. It's meant to be designated to another agent that you're working with. Because when you put this into your Brokermint file, we already have access to all the documents anyway. Now, that being said, it's important for you to actually submit the documents to me so I know which ones are completed and I know to go in and actually review to approve those documents. Because we have multiple transactions in Brokermint, they all have documents. I've got to know which ones are pending review. So that's when you're simply going to click on submit, okay? So on the right-hand side, once you actually upload a document there and you're finished with the document, you will see a button populate on the right that'll say submit. You submit that, and that's when I'll be able to review it for you.
Okay, so it's only the ones that need to be reviewed that you submit. So it's not everything coming through, of course, because you don't want to be inundated. So it's just specific. Okay.
You got it. So contracts, and contracts mean fully signed by all parties. Your contracts that are fully signed by all parties, those are the ones that need to be submitted. Anything that is an offer that's not fully signed by all parties, you don't have to submit those for review unless you say, okay, I just need a little bit of help with this offer. Can you eyeball it for me? Absolutely. So we can take a look at it for you. One of your colleagues can take a look at it for you, but you are not required to submit an offer for review and wait for an approval for an offer.
Right. So I wanted to say one more thing, Jasmine, in reference to Kermon's question. The transaction coordinator selection does not all automatically send documents to the transaction coordinator. It allows the transaction coordinator permission to that transaction.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Excellent, guys. Well, kudos to you guys for all of your thoughtful questions and all of your input in going through Brokermint. Now we are going to jump to Constant Contact. In Constant Contact, I think this one is going to be a lot quicker, very user-friendly in terms of the platform. I believe Brokermint is extremely user-friendly as well. I want to remind all of us that for our new agents, not sure if you guys have logged into Constant Contact as of yet. If not, I want you to go ahead and download Constant Contact, the app on your phone if you haven't already. If you already have the Constant Contact app on your phone, unmute yourselves and let me know. Put up a hand, put something in the comment section, but let me know if you have the Constant Contact app already on your phone.
Yes, I have it.
I have it.
I have it as well.
Excellent. We're missing a few people. Is there anybody that needs to download it right now?
I will download it on my phone.
I have
Perfect.
it.
Excellent. Anybody that needs to download it right now, I'm going to pause for you because I'm going to give you specific instructions and we're going to make sure that you guys are able to get set up, okay? Is there anybody else that needs to download it?
I'm driving, Miss Porter, so I'm gonna have to
Oh,
just kind of
please
listen
wait.
and yeah,
Here,
and I'll download it as soon as I
we
get to
need
a
you to be
stopping point.
safe, so no worries, not a problem at all. So if there isn't anybody else that needs to download it right now, we'll go ahead and get started. And Joy, we can just recap later. But I'm saying that in particular because on the app, it is so easy to upload all of your contacts at once simply by adding them from the device. There's like 3 clicks. You click on your contact list, add contacts from device, all. And then it does it. It pulls everything in. So it's a little bit different. The way that the actual website itself works is different than the way that the app works. The app is so simplistic in the way that it does. If you do it from your computer, it's going to ask you to import or do it from some type of file or upload, or, you know, it doesn't let you just pull it from your phone. So let's just make it easy for you guys. That being said, when you go to your contacts, each and every last one of our agents, you have a checklist, okay? So not checklist, I'm sorry, you have a contact list. We've created a list for each one of you. So let's just say by chance, we'll pull this up for you, Joy, so that you'll know when you get there, here's what you're gonna do. So you have Joy, this is your list, okay? So you click on your list and you will be able to add your contacts to your list. Once you do, I don't know how many people you have in your phone. You may have 200, you may have 2,000, but whatever that number is, for all of your contacts that you have email addresses for, it's going to populate into the system so that you will be able to send out your marketing campaigns to everybody that you just uploaded from your cell phone into your Constant Contact check or your Constant Contact email list. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Perfect. All right. Now, once you get everybody into your Constant Contact checklist, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to send out a welcome campaign. So this is for everybody else. Those of you who already have uploaded your contacts. Mr. Porter.
Wait a minute, Jasmine. Wait a minute.
Okay. Okay.
Constant Contact only sends to emails.
Yes.
So you, in your contacts, now you're going to have to do one step before you want to send out that. You can send out the welcome email to the people who you have emails for. and it'll send it. But what you want to do is you want to start reaching out to people, tell them that you're updating your contact list and that you would like their best email so
That
that you
was
can share information
extremely
with them.
important. That's extremely important. And I want to say that for all of us. I want us to do that on an ongoing basis. You'll notice when you upload your contacts, you'll notice how many people you have only a telephone number for. And it may be, you know, half, it may be less or more than half. But that gives you a great opportunity to reach out to those people that are in your sphere of influence because they already know you, they like you, they trust you. And because they're now going to find out that you're in real estate, it's just another reason for you to touch them, reach out to them so that you can get a referral. So just like Mr. Porter said, say, hey, I'm updating my contact list. Notice that I don't have an email address from you. What is your email address? Okay, and get that from them so that you can upload that into Constant Contact. Okay, once you do, we want a welcome email to go out from each one of our Realty pros to everybody that's in your contact so that they'll know, hey, you're a Realty pro, you can assist them. Here's your welcome email. And let's just say by chance, we'll look at one of these so that you can see the type of information that you get from that. You guys will be able to look at your different campaign types. If you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you see that there are a total of 705 campaigns that are already built inside of Constant Contact, okay? You have the option. You can copy any campaign that's here and send it out to your contact list, being sure to update your personal information, your contact, your photo, so that it sends out the correct information to all of your contacts. Or you can create new campaigns, but there is an abundance of information already here, so you can copy some of those so as to save yourself time, or you can customize them. I recommend a combination of both of those. But if you want to just get started, you can have something there for your welcome, and then we'll move forward with, you know, your monthly mailers, and we'll move forward with your holiday greetings afterwards. But first thing first is your welcome email. Okay, so you see various welcome emails over here. You can go in and choose whichever of these formats, whatever the colors you like, you can choose whichever one you'd like. And let's just say by chance we click right here, we click on more. You might say, I like this one. Let me go ahead and copy it. Okay, I clicked on that welcome email. It's going to upload it for me. Now, because I'm copying this, I'm going to go ahead and put this So I'm copying it. You're going to put your name in there. So it may say Joy's welcome email. It may say Darlene's welcome email. But now you're going to scroll through and you're going to make sure you add your nice photo there, and you're going to update that information here so that it all goes back to you. Okay. And down at the bottom also, you're going to see these hyperlinks for your social media pages. Make sure you click on that and you drop the information for your social media page, because that is a live link and it will take clients back to you. Okay, so that is a quick way to do your welcome email. If you want to check it, you want to preview it, let's preview and let's see what that looks like. Okay, and that's what's going to go out to your contacts. I am wanting to go into further detail. I know we have about 16 more minutes. I don't want to skim you guys on information for Constant Contact because this is a very important part of what it is that we do. However, for Constant Contact, you can edit any of this. So these are templates that we've already built, but each one of these items, as you can see, it's editable. You can edit it, you can move things around, you can change, you know, locations and all that good stuff. For something such as this email, I recommend that you keep the format the same, only updating your picture because we've already pre-built it for you and we want it to be seamless and automated, okay? But for the sake of your own campaigns and everything, you can play with it however you want. Important notice, your images. So each of you have a copy of your business card photo. You want to go ahead and upload your business card photo into the images over here, okay? So that when you go to add your picture to your campaigns, you already have it right there. You can pull it right from the images file, or you can upload it directly from your computer. You can drag and drop it so that your campaign shows your photo, okay? That's one thing. Another thing is within these campaigns, if I wanted to say, okay, I sent out that campaign, but how do I know who opened it? How do I know who's engaged? Okay, let's take a look. Let's ask. I'll go back to welcome. All right, and let's just click on this one for now. So click here. So I simply clicked where it said 44% open rate. You see, it gives us some details here. The industry average is a 14% open rate. The average open rate is 19%, but the open rate for this welcome campaign is 43%, okay? So that is a very good indicator, but it takes it a little bit further. It actually lets you know specifically who opened your email, what date, what time, so you know specifically who's engaged in what you're sending out in your marketing information for constant contact. Okay, so that's very important because for several reasons, but you'll know specifically, say by chance you send out, 300, 500, let's see who actually opened it. They saw something come over, did they open it? Are they paying attention? Okay, gives you the option to do a couple different things. If you wanted to now target a campaign only to the people that you know are actually interested in looking at the material that you're sending, you can simply select those. You can either export the contacts there, or if you wanted to do another campaign that's specific to them, you can. But now at least you're able to look at your specific data. Does that make sense? All right. Back to campaigns. As we see here, there's a total of 706 campaigns in here. Emails, there are 596 email campaigns, okay? Automations, there are 94 automation campaigns. You can choose to copy any of these and simply assign them to your contact list. You copy it and you send it to your contact list and you simply update your information and it's done. Let's see what this looks like. If I say, okay, this is an email campaign, I want to copy one of these. What do I want to do? Reasons to sell this summer. Let's say, okay, I want to copy this. I can actually look at all these items in this more drop-down list. So it has, what did I just do here? Okay, there we go. So I can copy, I can look at the details, I can preview the campaign, I can share it, I can resend it, I can download it and print it. Because once you've actually sent out the email, now you can download it and print it because it'll create a trusty flyer for you. So you can download it and print it, archive, or delete it. So here's something that's already set up. I'm going to go ahead and copy that because I might say I want to do the same thing. If I copy this campaign, all right, reasons to sell this summer. Now, because I've copied it, I got to make sure that I update it, okay? For the sake of our training, I'm going to go ahead and put JasmyenPorter here. I can adjust it, as you see. Scroll on down. You update all of this information in here. And I'm not going to send this out, but if I was going to send this out, I would simply click on continue. And as I continue, I need to add this to an email list, okay? So there are multiple email lists. Let's just see which one. Okay, let's choose this one. This one for now. Subject. All right, so now I need to update this information. How am I going to do that? Go here. Choose my email address if it's already there. If it's not there, I'm going to add it. Simply remove this one. Use your email address if it's there. If this is your first time, you'll need to add it and it will send you an email to verify, okay? Your reply address, you're gonna need to update that as well. Okay, physical address, that information is gonna be the same, but there's other information that's gonna need to be updated. Scroll on over. Now, what can I do over here? I can send it now or I can schedule it for later. I'll say I'm gonna schedule this 31st. I'm not gonna send this out just yet, but I can schedule it for when I want it to go out. So let's say I wanted this to go out on, let's choose a date. Let's say on Tuesday, I want that to go out 10 o'clock a.m. on a Tuesday. And then I'm gonna ask this to send me early results. And then I can choose to resend to non-openers. Okay. Confirm, do you actually want it to resend? Yes. In the event that they don't open, I want to resend it to them. All right. And I can schedule it, I can edit it, or I can save it. But I'm sure that there's more that needs to be edited because I have not switched out my telephone number and email address just yet, and that's still going to say Aurelia. But for the sake of the training, if I were to continue this, I can continue and schedule and be done with it. Okay, so that you guys can see, you simply go here, very simple. And you just personalize this. Good thing is with our emails, you kind of have a cheat there because all of us have the same email with the exception of your first name there. Okay, so you're going to have that information. Good. Except for photo. We need to replace the photo. Go to the library. Saved under my name. Okay. It's not saved under my name, so I would just have to scroll on down. Once you save your photo in here, it'll be a part of the library so that you can always go back and pull that photo into any of your marketing pieces. Mine is in here somewhere. You guys get the gist of how this works? Does anybody
Yes.
have any questions about anything that we've covered thus far? So what are your thoughts about the process? Does it seem like it's straightforward? How do you feel about that?
It definitely is straightforward.
It definitely seems like it's straightforward. I know for me, I need to get in and create, starting from Brokermint, some dummy transactions just to get a feel for the way things work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure for this constant contact component of it, in order to get to this, I know I have to create my account, and it might be in the documents that you've already given me, Ms. Porter, but in order to be able to get to like the Porterhouse constant contact, I'm sure you have to, log in a certain way, right? Basically to create.
So you are absolutely right, and I'm glad you asked that question. The good thing is that you do not have to create an account because you already have a seat in here. So let me just look this up for you so you can see. Let's see. Well, this is for scheduling purposes, so I'll go out of this one. Now, for this one, I would be finished and I would go to schedule. Let's just say for now, I'm going to schedule this so that we can go ahead and in the training so you guys can see exactly how that looks. Finish this here, and then I'm going to demonstrate to you what to do. Okay, Joy? Okay,
Okay.
date and time is missing. All right, so I'm going to click save for now. So let's go back to our contacts. So what you're going to do, you can call me, Joy, when you can, because it's more simple than you think. So once you download that Constant Contact app, I'm going to send you the information because it's a brokerage account. So all of us have accounts within this one account. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to your contact list, okay? And within your contact list, which is already, you already have a seat in Brokermint. So let's look at your contact list. Let's just say filter, let's see, lists. Here we go. Joy Diggs already has a list right there. So you're simply, you don't have to create an account. You simply log in using the Porterhouse credentials. You have a contact list and you are simply going to add your contacts to your list. So there's nothing for you to do but log in, add your contacts, and begin working with campaigns. So everything is
Okay.
already done for you in terms of making sure it's set up and you already have a list that's designated. I want to say too, that you're going to see
Okay.
that some of your colleagues have a couple different lists, and that is perfectly fine. And we expect that. You may have a master list. You may have a buying list. You may have a listing list. You may have a list for people that you're marketing to based on your farm area, and that's totally fine. You simply create additional lists for them. But the account is already set up for you. The credentials will be provided to you, and you simply add your people to your list. And just be sure that when you're sending out the campaigns, you choose your list from there, because you want to make sure you send it to people that you already know. Okay.
Okay, that was my main question. So in regards to the credentials and being able to get to this platform. So
You got
thank
it.
you for explaining that.
You got it. Not a problem. Now, that being said, tonight is a quick beginning overview of Constant Contact, because this system does a whole lot more. It has so much to offer, this Constant Contact campaign or this Constant Contact platform. But for the sake of getting started in our new agent training, I'm going to put a pin in it there for tonight, because I don't want to overwhelm us and I don't want us to go overtime. It is 8:28 and I want to have you guys out of here by 8:30 so that you can get back to what you have to do for the evening. And we will have some more in-depth trainings, but everything that we went through is more than sufficient for you guys to get started sending out your welcome emails, starting your campaigns, copying campaigns so that you have them to go out automatically, importing your contacts and everything so that you are able to stay before your sphere of influence, even while you're sleeping. Because as you saw how easily I was able to copy that campaign, assign my checklist, update my information, and schedule when I want it to go out. Okay, so you can do that for anything that you see within this Constant Contact platform. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
No, this was
I didn't hear you, Joy.
great. So this was great and very helpful.
Wonderful.
I'm in my phone right now trying to do this, Ms. Porter, so my mind is spinning, but I'm working on it. I got it.
Okay.
I'm trying to put all this stuff in. And so
Good. Excellent.
it's all good.
Does anybody else have any other questions or comments before we end for the night?
Great training, as always.
I second that.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your diligence. Thank you for logging on. And thank you for your input. Thank you for your participation and all that good stuff. And we are at 8:30, so I will quickly say a quick prayer over us as we leave for tonight. I'm going to end our recording, and we will resume next Thursday from 7 until 8:30, okay?